Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 11 of the Advanced Cyber 3 by TryHackMe. Today's challenge is all about trying to hack back into a database. Well, not really hack back because we already have the credentials, but basically interact with a MS SQL server to find different informations about different tables that are inside a database. So, as opposed to the NoSQL challenge that we did, I do believe, in day 7 of the Advanced Cyber 3, well, this one is actually a relational database management system. So what is all of this? Well, a relational database system is basically groups of tables that have relations between each other. So let's go look at the example real quick. So you see that the customers table right here has an ID for each customers, and then this ID can be used again, for example, in the invoice. And for example, if these customers buy something from the electronic items table, then you can simply put the ID of the item in the invoice as well. You don't need to basically copy the information all over. It's all very smart. So in this case, we need to go into the database and get a little bit of information regarding different stuff. So let's dive right into the practical part right now and just look at how it differs from a NoSQL database, but also how we can just simply access it and find the questions, right? So let's dive right into it. All right, so the first thing you want to do, as always, is connect to the VPN. And also this time only, I will ask you to put your terminal in full screen because you will need it for the output of the database to be pretty. So if you don't know how to connect to the VPN, make sure to watch day 3 of the Advanced Cyber 3 because I show you how to do that with OpenVPN. So you don't need to use the attack box of TryHackMe, although it's a very good box if you prefer this. So let's go to question 1. So we know that this IP address that we have is a MS Windows system. And Windows does not respond to ping probes by default. So we need to add a -pn. So basically, to our Nmap scan. So basically what this does is Nmap won't do the ping probe first to see if the host is online or offline, because if Windows doesn't respond to it, then Nmap will basically say, oh, this host is offline, although it's not offline, and you can still connect to the services. So we do this to skip this ping discovery, basically. So let's do Nmap, Nmap -pn, and the IP address. If you don't know how Nmap works, I invite you to watch yesterday's video where we go over what Nmap is. And if you remember correctly, since we don't provide the flag for the port, which is -p, then by default Nmap will scan the top 1000 most common ports. And that doesn't mean ports 1 to 1000, it just means that it's the 1000 most common ports that will be scanned. And if you remember correctly, I like to do -v so I have verbosity. So the question right now is we need to find an open port related to MS SQL server accessible over the network. So what is the port number? So that's the scan completed. That was very fast. So we said there's 4 ports open. There's 22 for SSH, 135 for MS RPC, 1433 for MS SQL-S, and 3389 for MS WBT server. So my guess is going to be for 1433 because it's the MS SQL-S. So let's do 1433. And that was a good answer. So let's keep going. And now it shows us how to connect the database remotely. So we can do the squish command and then provide the server username password. So it already gives us username and passwords. And you will notice that the username that we are being given is SA. SA is basically the system administrator for the SQL server. It's a very powerful, think of it as the root of the MS server. And SA can actually run XP command shell. So it can run code on the underlying machine using the database, which we'll do later on. But if you ever do an assessment or hack the box that as a MS SQL database, you should want to look at getting SA privileges. It's not always the way in, but if you can have it, it's probably a way in. So enough nerding right now, and let's just copy this and then paste it. So now you'll see that we have a little prompt. So what's the first question? If the question is successful, you get a prompt. So what is the prompt that you have received? Well, it's this little cone looking thing. So 1 and then greater than sign. Alright, so database admin told us that the database name is reindeer. That's fine. There's 3 tables, names, presents, and schedules. So if you don't know, inside the database you have tables, and these tables contains entries that have different attributes coming from their columns. So if you look, basically the basic syntax would be select star from table name where condition. So what does this all mean? Well, when you select star, basically it's gonna return all columns, right? So all attributes of your entries will be returned. Then you ask from table name. So what table do you want to see? And you'll see the whole output of this table because of this star here, right? So you select everything from that table as long as it answers the condition. You don't need to put a condition with the where, but for example, if you have a user's database, right? And the user's database has columns for ID, username, email, password, hash, and phone number, for example, right? And you only wanted the information of the administrator username. Well, you could do select star from users where username equals administrator, and you would only get it. You would only get the output for the administrator. I'll try to show an example on screen right now of what I mean. All right, so what we need to do is the first name of the reindeer of ID 9, and they actually give us the query we need to input. So if we look at it, we see select star, so we get everything from the table, where the table is actually the table names from the reindeer database, right? So, and don't forget the semicolon at the end. That's what tells the SQL server, hey, I'm done, right? I'm done with this query. Now we can go ahead, and then we can enter go to send the query to the database itself and then get the output. And that's special to Squish. You don't need to do that. For example, if you were doing SQL injections, you don't need to do that. So if we do this, right, so we select everything from the names table in the reindeer database, then we do go, well, you'll see the output, right? So we need to find the first name of the ID 9. So look at the ID 9 and then look for the first name, which is Rodolphe. All right, so now we need the table schedule. What is the destination of the trip scheduled on December 7th? Well, we can reuse this old query and just change the table name to schedule. Then press go, and you'll see we have different information because we are querying a different table from the same database, right? So December 7th is Prague, right? Date December 7th, destination Prague. Check the table present. So how do we do that again? Well, we do the same thing. So presents, go. Now what do we need? We need a quantity available for the present power bank. So look for power bank, ID 108, and then you have 25,000. See, that's quite easy, right? So that's the XP command shell I was talking to you about, where you can run basically code on the underlying system. And the command syntax is this. So if we do the example of who am I can delete this. and then send go, and you'll see that the output of the command shell who am I is actually NT-service MS SQL server. So it works, right? If we were to do, for example, there, which is Windows way of doing ls, and we do go, then it's going to list whatever is inside my current working directory. So what can we do? Well, we need to find the flag in the Grinch user home directory. So what is a home directory in Windows? Well, a home directory in Windows is dir users Grinch. So if I do this, I'll get the output of whatever is inside Grinch's home directory. However, we don't see a flag right now, so we need to look in the subfolders. And to do that, well, all we need to do is basically just add the subfolder afterwards, right? So we could do, for example, dir c users Grinch desktop, or we could also do /r, I believe, to do a recursive search. But let's just do it manually, just so we don't get spam too much. So nothing on the desktop. Next, we can go to the documents. And if we do go to the documents, we see that there's a flag.txt file. So we know that it's inside this directory, and we know that it's called flag.txt. So what can we do now? Well, we can modify our command to, instead of being type, it can be it can be type, which is the equivalent of cat on Linux, and then just provide the full path to the file itself. Now type go, and just like that, we get our flag, right? Because we did type, and then we got the good path of the flag.txt file. So congratulations, the flag you haven't recovered contains a password of the make database admin. And in this task, indeed, we learned how to use Squish, we learned how to use XP command shell, we learned the basics of SQL queries, etc. So congratulations, just like that, you completed day 11 of the Advent of Cyber 3 by TryHackMe. Let's go to the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching day 11 of this Advent of Cyber 3 by TryHackMe. So this challenge was quite interesting. You know, we were going through a MS SQL database, well, server, and we got a bunch of information. It wasn't as CTF per se, but more of an exercise about how do we interact with a database server, basically, which is always a very good skill set to have. So if you liked the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It always helps me a lot. And if you want to support me, the links are in the description below. Thank you for your support, by the way. I really appreciate it. See you tomorrow for day 12 of the Advent of Cyber 3 by TryHackMe. And in the meanwhile, take care, guys, and have fun. Bye-bye.